Okay, I'm doing my people and culture interview, and the profile is Anne Dunleavy is the interviewer. The cultural or ethnic background of my interviewer is white. The cultural or ethnic background of my interviewee is mixed, and then she would expand upon that and say Hispanic and white. She's 27. She's a female. She has a bachelor's of arts in psychology and currently no occupation. Thank you very much for coming and doing this with me today. So feel free to answer the questions however you'd like. Number one, please describe the most important values and beliefs of your culture.
Okay. So when I think about my culture, I think of it as not in a boundary. So I don't approach myself as a Mexican, and I don't approach myself as a white person, because I was raised by people who were raised in completely different cultures. And so my culture is not one specific thing. And so my important values and beliefs of my own individual culture are mixed, because I am mixed. And so it's just being open and being able to kind of just take in everything and not being closed-minded, because that's how my parents got together. Is they weren't closed-minded, and they were able to learn about each other even though they were raised completely differently. And so I think that's kind of how I approach life, is just because I was raised a certain way doesn't mean that's right, doesn't mean that's wrong. So that's how I approach life.
Okay. Please describe important cultural events, celebrations, and practices in your culture.
Okay, so in my family, we do a lot of different things. Christmas is very important, because that's important to a lot of people who are raised very differently. We also do Day of the Dead. More so when I was younger, we would do the shrine and everything. And that was important. Some things kind of died off as my mom, something about being a first generation American is that you want to be as American as possible. And so she and her parents, who wanted to be as American as possible as immigrants, kind of would push their own to cultural aside.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would try to be just as, I guess, white American, as typically American as possible. So didn't mention Cinco de Mayo often.
Mm-hmm.
Typical things, mostly focus on religious celebrations instead of typical cultural celebrations. So I was raised Catholic. So we would focus on Catholicism, which was also a mixed bag because my dad was raised Methodist. But just, I guess, Christmas is the big one. And then whenever I would show curiosity, then my mom would be like, okay, then we can explore it. But she didn't want me to, I guess, live the life that she lived, because she felt that she didn't blend as much. And so she never wanted that for me. And so, but only when I would be like, hey mom, what's this? She'd be like, okay. So that's pretty much.
Okay. What are some reading materials, films, or videos that can help us learn about your culture?
This might sound kind of funny, but do you know the movie Fools Rush In? With
yes.
Matthew Perry?
Uh-huh.
I watched that movie so many times when I was a kid, because that was my family. It was a white man falling in love with a Hispanic woman. I was like, that's great. That's wonderful. Why can't I see that all the time?
Right.
And so and now today, things like that are happening more and more. Every time I see a commercial with a white dad, a black child, yes.
Right.
So good. So wonderful. So anything that explores just not typical families can help you learn more about my culture. Being mixed is just anything that isn't typical.
Right.
And then like Coco is also great. Love Coco.
Okay. So how do you think others outside your culture view your culture?
And that one, I thought about this question a little bit. This one is a little difficult because I am white passing. Most people look at me and they don't think about race being something. They just like, okay. And they don't even think about, oh, what is she? But every now and then there will be a person who's like, oh, she doesn't look 100% like a white person. What is she? And some people ask me, so what are you? Like, well, did you ask her that? Did you ask him that?
Right.
Why me? So sometimes I guess people are confused. And if they have set, I guess, stereotypes or something in their mind of just like everything that I'm composed of, then they can't really grasp what type of person I am. Because I'm not just a Mexican person, I'm not just a white person. Native American person also, that's in there. So it's, I guess, confusion is the big thing that I get from other people, trying to just understand what I am. And that usually happens when how I approach the world doesn't line up with people I'm interacting with, who up until that point thought that I was just like them. So, because most of the time how I was raised does not like clash with my friends, but every now and then it does. And most people don't look at me and think race is like something different,
Right.
until it is. And then that kind of brings up a question, because it is very important to me, and it's not something that I ever forget, but it is something that everyone else forgets.
Right.
So,
Okay. What are some of your fondest memories you have from your childhood?
so many from culture. And that's also an interesting question, because for some people, culture is like so intrinsically who they are. And for me, it never really has been, because I wasn't raised in one specific culture. And so I wasn't raised to think this experience that we're having right now is tied to your culture. This is just because this is our family. This is what we're doing today. Or this is like, we're making sugar skulls because this is what we're doing today. We're having fun. We're doing this. Not because you're Hispanic, not because. And so specific memories that I'm very fond of, maybe, I don't know, they're not like specifically tied to, it's interesting. I don't know. But so I can't really tie like how I was raised to like specific antecedent points, but I don't know. Going to the beach with my dad, just going to the park, baking cookies, just living life with my family and doing normal things.
Right.
I don't know.
So do you feel like you've ever experienced prejudice or discrimination?
I definitely have, but it's, in my case, not as, to use a term kind of fitting to this, but not on purpose, black or white. It's not as like easy as like some people who definitely look not typical will face discrimination every single day based on what they look like. In my case, it's a little different, but exactly the same, because it's based on what I look like, because somehow, based on all the DNA that was thrown into my pot, I turned out like this. When I could have had blue eyes, it's in there.
Right.
I could have had darker skin, it's in there, but I look like this. So my prejudice, I guess, that's faced towards me is just like I have the same ancestral background as someone who could look completely different,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not approached the same way as that person might be,
Mm-hmm.
Which is sometimes an advantage, an unfortunate advantage. Or some people would expect me to know things that I don't, or expect me to not know things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being mixed and white passing, I feel like I get discriminated on people like from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so like just talking about my family, my mom's side of the family, when I was little, I would try to talk in Spanish to them, and then they would be like, "Oh, the American,"
Mm-hmm.
and talk about my American accent. And so I quickly stopped
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk to them
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, "Oh, well, I was trying so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying so hard. I'm sorry you're raised in Mexico." And I'm not. I'm sorry. My mom stopped speaking Spanish to people because she didn't want to
Right.
her accent. So,
Mhm.
and then my dad's side of the family, it's the opposite.
Mhm.
I wasn't white enough,
Mhm.
wasn't Mexican enough. So it's that kind of thing that I face.
Mhm. So, given what has happened in recent events, what do you think can be done about prejudice and discrimination in your opinion?
Tough. Definitely, I think a big thing is just being open and not being defensive about being ignorant. And I'm using ignorant as not like a totally negative
Mm-hmm.
word, just not knowing everything
Mm-hmm.
and admitting that you don't know everything. Because no one does.
Mm-hmm.
And and this is such like a charged issue because people want to get their feelings out, they want to express everything, and they want to be right. But there are so many different opinions out there, but you just can't go at it like with a fire,
Mm-hmm.
You have to see where people come from because we were all taught differently and grew up differently, and then kind of just shape it and go just teach lessons and be nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
Be gentle, because no one's going to learn from something if you just slap them.
Right.
You just have to be gentle and open and just know that they don't know what you know and you don't know what they know. And
So, what do you think is the biggest misconception about your culture?
the big first just word that went into my head was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my grandparents were both legal. My grandmother immigrated as soon as she could by herself, and then my grandfather immigrated as soon as he could by himself, and then they met here in Houston and got married. It's a sticky situation. I was raised that everything should be done the right way, that you should do things legally, but that isn't always the case for everyone. And you can't, it's not black and white. But it's just that everyone sees like immigrants and think that they are here the wrong way or here for the wrong reasons or just angry about it. And it's just not the case
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And whether, depending on how you approach it, what's right, what's wrong, you don't know. You don't know. But just the biggest misconception, not everyone is here to steal your job. Not everyone is here. Like, my grandparents just wanted better lives. They just wanted Like my grandmother had a 6th grade education because that's all she had her down. Like they just wanted better lives. It's just, you can't throw a blanket over a whole culture. You don't know everything about this whole group of people. And not all Hispanic people are Mexican. Not,
Right.
You can just keep digging at it. But
Right.
that's all.
Okay. So as religious, ethnic, and cultural diversity increases in our society, what do you think schools can do to better prepare students to interact with others who are different from themselves?
Yes. I always loved at my school we had culture days, we had international days. We had days where we just learned about the whole country, even if someone wasn't from that country. I always loved those. I felt like I got a lot from those. As far as like cultural diversity and how to approach it, being honest. The kids, I don't know, kids are smart and they know when you're not being honest with them, and they know that their peers are different than they are. And at that age, they don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. Their parents might, and so they may learn from their parents that it's a bad thing. So I think in schools, it's important to teach them that we are different, and that's good. And because when you just ignore it, then it can lead to learning the wrong things about difference. So I think just being aware and helping them learn that it's great, that it's good.
Great. Thank you very much.